I held the champagne flute so tight, my hands were slightly trembling. Maybe it was fear. Or maybe something darker. Emily stood right across from me, her glossy pink lips curling into a sweet smile. A smile that looked off, like she was hiding something. Her eyes sparkled but not with joy. There was something sly, almost sinister. Why was she watching me so closely? She picked up the bottle herself, poured me a glass slow and careful. But I noticed her nails, they twitched. Almost like she slipped something in. My heart skipped. Why would my own sister do that? I didn't say a word. Just held her gaze for a breathless second. Then, when no one was looking, I quietly switched my glass with her husband Jack's. Not even a minute later, Jack's face turned pale. His hand clutched the table, knuckles white. And Emily's smile dropped. Her eyes widened in horror. What had she planned? And why me? My name is Olivia Carter. I'm 32, living in a cozy apartment on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I run a small art gallery. It's my dream, my little world full of color and quiet. I've always been the quieter one. The one who likes sketchbooks over shopping sprees, rainy nights over cocktail parties. Growing up, I'd lose myself in painting while everyone else danced around family barbecues. Emily was the star. 3 years younger, golden hair, golden smile, golden life. Homecoming queen, cheer squad captain, prom dates, country club brunches. Mom and Dad adored her. Dad would call her my princess. Mom would fix her pearls, beam with pride. And I was more like the backdrop. The soft painting on the wall nobody really stopped to notice. It never bothered me much. Not really. I had my books, my art, my own small circle. Until Emily's world and mine collided again. In the most unexpected way. 5 years ago, she married Jack. Handsome, charming Jack. He shook my hand at the engagement dinner, held it a second too long. I told myself I imagined it. Jack was Wall Street royalty, sleek suits, expensive watches, that easy grin. Emily fit into that life like a perfect diamond. Meanwhile, I'd show up to their holiday parties in thrifted dresses, hoping no one noticed the scuffs on my shoes. Our parents, they'd all but moved into Emily's glittering circle. Galas, fundraisers, charity auctions. Sometimes I'd get invited, almost like a courtesy. I'd stand in a corner with my cheap wine, watching Emily laugh in her sequined gowns. But despite the distance, I never hated her. She was my sister. How could I? Even when she brushed me off with a soft, patronizing laugh. Or when Mom would say, "Olivia dear, why don't you try smiling like Emily does?" I thought that was just family. That we all had roles to play. I never imagined Emily's smile would one day hide something that could destroy us. It was Emily and Jack's 5th wedding anniversary. A glittering party at their penthouse overlooking Central Park. Everything about it was grand. The ice sculptures, the string quartet, the champagne tower that sparkled under fairy lights. I stood by the balcony, nursing a tiny glass of Prosecco, feeling completely out of place. Most of the guests were Emily's crowd. Trust fund heirs, sleek socialites, hedge fund wives dripping in diamonds. Their eyes would skim over me, lingering just long enough to offer a polite smile before drifting back to their own little universes. A week before that party, something happened that shook me to my core. Jack, my brother-in-law, sent me a text. "Thinking of you tonight. Maybe it should have been us." My stomach twisted. I'd never encouraged him, never given him any reason. I typed back a shaky, horrified, "Jack, this is not okay." But somehow that message ended up forwarded to Emily. I still don't know if Jack did it by mistake. Or on purpose. Emily didn't call. Didn't text. When I showed up at the party, she greeted me with that same sugar-sweet smile. Her arms pulling me into a hug that felt stiff, calculated. Her perfume was too strong, made my eyes water. Or maybe that was fear. Inside, the tension wrapped around me like a choke collar. Jack avoided my gaze all evening, pouring himself drink after drink, laughing too loud. Emily, on the other hand, floated from guest to guest, her hand on Jack's arm, whispering things in his ear that made him flinch. I tried to slip away early, muttering something about an early gallery appointment. Emily caught my wrist, her manicured nails digging in just a little. "Oh, Liv, don't be silly. You have to stay for the toast. It's tradition." Her smile was razor sharp. And for the first time, a small voice inside me whispered, "Something's wrong." The waiters brought out trays of champagne. Emily took one herself, unusual. She always let the servers handle it. Then she poured 2 glasses with deliberate care, handing one to me, her eyes never leaving mine. My pulse raced. Why was she watching me so closely? What was she waiting for? My hand trembled as I took the glass. I could almost hear my heart asking the question my lips couldn't form. What are you doing, Emily? And why me? Jack swaggered over right then, laughing with one of his buddies, face a little too flushed. Emily's hand tensed on my back. Her nails pressed sharp into my dress, almost like a warning. She raised her glass. To 5 beautiful years, and many more to come. Everyone lifted their flutes, voices chiming together. Cheers! I couldn't breathe. It was like my body knew something my mind hadn't accepted yet. Emily's eyes stayed locked on me, glittering with something dark. Jack reached for his own glass, about to sip, and in that tiny second my mind screamed, "Don't!" Without even thinking, I tilted my hand slightly, bumping his arm, then smoothly swapped my glass with his. No one noticed. It happened so fast, so quietly. Jack threw his head back, laughing, and gulped it down. Emily didn't even blink at first. Then a flicker of confusion. A second of horror. Her lips parted like she was about to shout something, but nothing came out. Within moments, Jack's laughter died. He staggered, one hand clutching his chest. The other reached blindly for the table. His glass slipped, shattered across the marble floor. Jack! Emily's voice cracked. He fell to his knees, gasping for air. His face drained of all color. Panic erupted. Guests screamed. Someone called 911. Emily just stood there, frozen. Her eyes darted to me wide, terrified, accusing. Like she couldn't process how her careful plan had twisted so terribly wrong. My stomach churned. My heart slammed against my ribs. What had she put in my drink? Would she have let me die right here in front of everyone? Was this really my sister? I backed away, pressing myself against a pillar, breath shaking. Emily dropped beside Jack, her hands fluttering uselessly over his shoulders. Baby? Baby! Oh my God! But it was too late. Sirens wailed in the distance. And all I could think was, why would my own sister try to poison me? The ambulance arrived in a blur of red and white. Paramedics rushed in, loading Jack onto a stretcher. His eyes were half open, rolling back, mouth forming silent words. Emily was hysterical now, clutching his hand, begging him to wake up. It was almost convincing. If I hadn't seen her face a moment before, frozen in horror when Jack took my drink. I stood numbly by the wall as they wheeled him out. Someone touched my arm. A server maybe. Asking if I was all right. I couldn't even answer. My throat felt like it was full of broken glass. They sped Jack to the hospital. Emily and I rode behind in a separate car, the silence thick, suffocating. Her hands twisted in her lap, knuckles white. Once or twice she glanced at me, eyes glistening, but didn't say a word. At the hospital, doctors swarmed. Machines beeped. Nurses whispered. Then a man in blue scrubs came out, pulling down his mask, voice grim. He slipped into a coma. We're doing everything we can. Emily let out a strangled sob, clutching her face. I felt a weird mix of relief and guilt. Relief it wasn't me on that bed. Guilt that somehow my quiet decision to swap glasses had changed all our lives in a single breath. But things weren't done unraveling. 2 days later, the police showed up at Emily's apartment. They had CCTV footage from inside the penthouse. It clearly showed Emily preparing the champagne, handling my glass separately, adding something, then smiling sweetly as she handed it to me. Emily tried to argue, voice high and brittle. It was nothing. Just vitamins. Jack's doctor suggested. But the officers didn't buy it. They cuffed her right there, reading her rights as she screamed at me. You did this, Olivia. You switched them. You knew. Her words echoed in the marble hallway, sharp and jagged. Neighbors peered out from behind doors. I stood there, arms wrapped tight around myself, whispering inside my own head. Why, Emily? Why would you ever want me gone? Her eyes were wild as they pulled her away. The last thing she shouted burned into my chest forever. This was never supposed to happen to him. The courtroom smelled like old wood and stale coffee. Reporters crowded the hallway, flashes going off every time Emily walked by in her pale blue suit. hands cuffed in front of her. I sat alone on a hard bench, twisting my silver bracelet round and round. My parents were nowhere to be seen. They couldn't bear the shame. Couldn't bear to look at me or her. Emily's lawyer tried everything. Painted her as a loving wife, a generous sister, a woman pushed to the edge by jealousy and misunderstandings. They even suggested I might have tampered with the drinks, that maybe I had reason to want Jack harmed. Each word sliced at me made me physically flinch. Emily never looked at me, not directly. But sometimes when she thought no one was watching, I caught her eyes, hollow, terrified, like a child caught in a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Then the prosecution rolled the security footage. It played on a huge screen, grainy but clear enough. There was Emily carefully handling my glass, her manicured fingers sprinkling something into the flute. Then that smile, so gentle, so practiced, as she handed it to me. The jury shifted uncomfortably. One woman put a hand to her mouth. Emily's face crumpled. Her shoulders sagged, her lawyer's hand resting on her back as if to keep her upright. When she took the stand, her voice was barely more than a whisper. I never meant to hurt Jack. It was supposed to calm Olivia down, make her sick enough to leave. I couldn't stand her being near him anymore. He was mine. I wanted her gone from our lives. Just for a while. Tears rolled down her face. But I couldn't cry. I just felt empty, like someone had scooped everything out of me. The judge's voice boomed through the courtroom, final and cold. Emily Carter. This court finds you guilty of attempted manslaughter. I exhaled, not sure if it was relief or heartbreak. Emily covered her face, shoulders shaking, sobbing in great heaving breaths as the bailiff led her away. I walked out into the sharp New York winter air. Everything felt too bright, too loud. I found myself wandering to my little gallery. The door creaked as I pushed it open, the familiar scent of varnish and old canvas wrapping around me like a blanket. I sank into a chair in the middle of the room, staring at one of my paintings, soft blues and greens, a quiet forest scene. I whispered to it like it might understand. She was my sister. My only sister. How did we end up here? No one answered. Just the echo of my own breath. Just the quiet knowledge that some things once broken can never be painted whole again. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Trust isn't given, it's built, moment by moment over years. And once it cracks even a little, it shatters everything. I used to believe family meant forever, that blood would always pull us back together. But sometimes the people who share your history, your childhood laughter, your deepest secrets, they're the very ones who carve out your heart. I don't hate Emily. I wish I could. It would be easier than carrying this hollow ache. But life has a cruel way of teaching you that love and betrayal, they often live side by side. And sometimes you walk away not because you want to, but because staying means losing yourself completely. So hold tight to the people who show you real loyalty. Because in the end, that's rarer than any masterpiece on my gallery walls.